Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video, and as you can see I'm working on a single page 6x12 layout, and these are photos from Amsterdam. This was actually our first meal in Amsterdam, which happened to be dinner, so it's later in the day, and we went to a place called Ellis, and we knew it was vegetarian. It had good reviews online. We just Googled it real quickly just to see. And we're like, okay, fine. That's, close to where we are. We'll go there. That is seriously the best vegetarian food I've ever had in my life. It listed this burger and I thought, okay, I've had other vegetarian burgers before and you can tell it's not a real burger. I mean, it's fine, but it's not a real burger. This one, if you had not told me or I hadn't seen that was vegetarian, I would have had no idea that it wasn't meat. It was so incredibly tasty and just cooked to perfection. So whatever it is and whatever they did, it was incredible. So I'm just going to get a close-up of that photo there. And then we had sweet potato fries, which I absolutely love. So we had that, and then we were sitting on the canal. They had all these chairs and tables set up outside. It was a perfect evening. I mean, look how nice the weather looks there. So we were quite enjoying ourselves. So I have these lovely photos, but as you can tell, I have 2 empty pockets here, and I can't remember off the top of my head if I put stuff in my bin for Amsterdam that was food related. I feel like I would have. I just can't remember. So I grabbed out this bag of embellishments and then my cards. Obviously, most of these are 4x6. There are some 4x8s and a 3x8 in there. If it were doable, I would cut one of these down, a 4x6, to make a 3x4, but I'm hoping I have something where I don't have to do that. And again, I feel like I would have put something in here because we had multiple incredible meals. We had great coffee a couple of times. So I feel like I would have dropped something in there. But if not, I'll just grab my food bin and I'll go through it and look for something. But I'm going to start with all this and see what I find. As it turns out, I did include some food things. Some will work, some won't. So obviously this one, I made it a 4x8. That's not going to work here. The colors might have matched, but not going to work because of size. I had one 4x6 that was a possibility, but I think this is wider than 3 inches. So if I were to cut it here, I'd be left with less than 3 inches here. So basically it would render it unusable. So not going to do that either. So I'm left with these. So this one just says food we ate, black and white, a little bit of gray. This one, good eats, very gray. And then this one, burger addict. And I'm sure I threw this in there for this because it's the only time I had a burger while we were there. And I'm tempted to use that one because of it. The color's okay. I really kind of like the gray better just because of the gray streets. You can see the cobblestone here. This building is gray. This one would have been okay because the menus, got a lot of black and white. But I think it's okay. It's not too far off from this color on my purse and the old wood of the table there, the bun, you know what I mean? They're not perfect, but it's not too far off. So I may stick with that. Then I need something here that definitely has journaling because I want to tell the story of it being so good for a vegetarian burger. And I'm not quite sure what color I want then. Part of me is tempted to match to this one where there's brown in it just to bring that in to make it look a little more cohesive, but I'm not sure. I don't think it has to be anything with food. Since I already have this, I don't need to have that twice, so that's good. I can put these back in my stash and find something that's a little bit more generic. I went into my regular stash of just generic cards and I had one thing in brown. Seriously, one thing. So clearly it's not a color I use a lot. And it was not the right brown. Like it didn't go at all. So I kind of gave up on that. I could maybe find something in the Project Life app and print it out. But I really don't want to because it takes more time. And I wanted to just grab something and be able to use it. Well, when I went through my other cards that were in this stack of just other stuff that I had thrown in there for Amsterdam, this one was in there. And I hadn't thought of this because it's more of a mustard color, but I kind of like it. When I put it down, overall, I like the color. However, I wouldn't put these next to each other. These are too close. But I thought if I switch these put the photo in this pocket, put the card in this pocket. I like it better. Then these aren't next to each other, but it still brings in the color. I have a little bit of it on my purse there. There's also a little bit on the building here that would go. I kind of like that, and that it's a nice mix of colors. So I think I'm going to use that one, but no journaling. That's the problem. This is all I have here. So I'm not so crazy about that. So I have to figure out how will I alter it to make it work if I'm going to use it. The other option is I can go into my photos and see if I have another one and make a flip there and find another card that's just generic for journaling. That seems like a lot more work to me, so I kind of don't want to do that either. So I'm wondering if maybe I can find a bigger piece of ephemera, something where I can actually write on it, whether it's a label or maybe it'll have a little saying on it, but room for me to journal. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna look through here and see what I can do. Okay, couple of things. It was bothering me that I couldn't remember what this was. So I got online quickly and I looked it up. It is the Beyond Burger, and maybe anybody who's a vegetarian out there has heard of that. It sounded familiar, but I don't know if it's the same thing we have in the States, but that's what it was. And oh my God, I would totally eat that again in a heartbeat. It was just absolutely delicious. So that's what it is. I'm glad I satisfied my curiosity on that. And then when I was trying to figure out what to do, I pulled out some other things, didn't like what I had. I pulled out some labels in both brown and gray. I don't have a brown one big enough to fit on top of that for journaling. There is this one in here. This gray one might fit, so I'm still considering that. But I remembered that in my memorabilia stuff that I picked out, I have a business card from them. The only problem is I don't like this pink, but I could still use the rest of it and cover that up with a phrase probably, or I could cut off that part and just use this. But I may end up doing a flip after all. The only challenge with that is that in this particular style of page protector that I have, I'm sure they're not all made like this. This one is from Close to My Heart, isn't it? Yes, Close to My Heart. They open from the side like this, in the middle, not top loading. I do have adhesive flips that will allow me to do a side pocket. I was trying to avoid it in this album. I wanted to do more of the traditional style where I put in a little tab and you lift up, but I may not be able to do that. I may just have to revamp and do a side pocket instead. So if I do that, then I have this. I have to find a background for it. And then I also still have to fill, the inside and figure out, well, what else am I going to put there? So I'm sort of setting myself up for a challenge, which I don't know how that's going to go. But, I want this album to be something that I love looking back at for years, because this was one of the best trips of my life. I really, really enjoyed it, and I want my album to reflect that. I've come up with a couple of things, I think. I wasn't finding anything I was happy with to make this into a pocket, to a flip. And then I remembered a card I had, but it was actually in my entertainment stuff that I use for like theater and movies, shows, that kind of thing. And it was this one. I could use this for food though. It doesn't have to be entertainment. It doesn't say that, and I could still use it as a review of the meal. It matches very well with this card. So I think I'm going to use this one as my other journaling spot. What that means though then is that I have to fill this with something and decorate this somehow. I have lots of stamps related to food, so I think I'm going to pull those, stamp something here that's fairly large, either a phrase or just an image, so that'll take care of that. I'll have this to fill in for inside this pocket. So really the only other thing I have to find is background paper for this, which should be easy, and then covering up this. And I do have stuff that I pulled out. I have a bunch of food phrases. I have chipboard and puffy stickers, all kinds of stuff in here. So I'll find something. I have a few things happening here. I put my pocket together. This one's actually going to go on the bottom. I decided that was the best placement for it. So when it flips open, the review card will be there. And then I took the business card from Alice. I decided to just cut off the bottom. I was trying to cover up that pink, bright pink spot, and it just wasn't working. I didn't like anything. So I thought, forget it. I'll just chop it off, put what's left on here. I think it's fine. I can either stamp here if I want, or just maybe put in a mini staple and call it good. We'll see what I end up doing, but I have that. I've picked out my stamp set. I'm going to use this one that says Super Fun Food Adventure. It's pretty large. It should fill up this tag pretty nicely. There'll be a good amount of white space around it, but it'll still fill it nicely. And I believe this set is from Feed Your Craft. Yes, Feed Your Craft, more please. Now, they have since stopped producing stamps and things, so I know you can't actively buy it from them, but if you like this, it might be on eBay somewhere, who knows, but that is who makes it. So I've got my ink selected. I did some tests here to figure out which color I would like the best, and I am going with a color from Stampin' Up! That is called Crumb Cake, and I think I'm actually going to stamp twice. This was the final color choice, and I like this one better. It's a little more muted, maybe a little bit closer to this tone. So I'm going to go with that. And once all that is done, I'll be back. I got my stamping done, but I decided that both of these cards need a little ink splattering just to add a little extra to something, but nothing too distracting. So I took out this one. It's an old one from Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist, and the color is Light Rosewood. And I did a sample and just dragged the wand part along just to make sure, is this the color I want? And it is. I really like that. I think that will mix well with this card and the brown tones. So I'm going to spray on some of that. Notice I've covered up the spots that I don't want to get any ink. And then I can just do some splattering. Need a little bit at the bottom there. There we go. You know what? That's probably good. I can see some here and up here. Yep. Less is more in my book, so I think that's enough. Okay, so I have everything in the pockets that needs to be in there. A little bit of a challenge because, again, they're side inserts, which is a little bit weird. I'm getting used to it. Just a little bit weird when you're trying to load stuff. So I have all of those in there, and I'm happy with that. Did put a staple in there. All I have to do then is peel the adhesive off to get this attached. So I will do that. And these side flipping ones are made by Close to My Heart. So I just want to take it, line it up as best I can, and then press down. And because this has an angled edge, I will end up having to trim off just a tiny little bit right there so it doesn't poke out from when I'm turning things. But otherwise, it's all I need to do. So then when you first see the page and the album looks like this, when you open the flip, you get that. I'm super happy with how that came out. A little bit more work than I thought at the start, but that's okay. So here is another one done for Amsterdam and Brussels. Thanks for watching.